everybody, Regan Hagstead here, Mortgage Success Blueprint, and today we're going to be talking about video on social media, and it's part of our social media for the referral-based originator series. And I started thinking about this, and it really kind of hit home that why would I talk about it when I've got a buddy of mine, Josh Pitts, who I think is, I don't know if we can measure this, but I think he has done more social media video than probably anybody else in the mortgage industry. And so, Josh, it's good to have you on, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. And so I really wanted to bring you in as well. And anybody that doesn't know Josh is also one of the founders of Industry Syndicate and Shred Media. And Industry Syndicate is kind of the first real estate and mortgage network where there's podcasts, posts, videos, and it's really a one-stop shop for anything mortgage or real estate, coaching, training, advice, tips, tricks. So it's pretty awesome. And through that, Josh, how many videos do you think you've done so far on social media?
Oh my gosh. If I had to guess, I legitimately probably into the thousands. I can probably say that confidently. So
yeah. Exactly. So everybody, there you have it. Josh has done 1,000 videos or more. So if you aren't doing video right now, and we all know that is something that's an absolute must, especially for a referral-based video, Josh is the guy to listen to. And so why don't we just dive right in, Josh? I mean, I guess my first question is, and I hear this all the time, is, well, I don't do video because I'm not good on camera. Or a friend of mine said he has a face for radio, right? Like, what would your response to that be?
Before I get into that, because that's a phenomenal question, I want to thank you, Regan, because everything that you're doing, all the content you put out, Mortgage Success Blueprint, you are a servant leader. You continue to give back to this incredible community. So kudos to you, kudos to your network and everything. And I'm absolutely honored and humbled to be hanging out with you because, again, you've been doing this for a long time. And it's guys like yourself who have continued. You stayed consistent and persistent with it. So truly, thank you so much for having me today. And back to your question, it's funny because I do hear this one all the time. Well, I've got a face for radio. I'm so nervous about what I look like. Here's the thing is when you walk into a room of your friends, do you care what you look like? Probably not. Like most of us, we walk in if we're hanging out with friends from high school or our sphere of influence, we may be dressed. Everybody knows me. I wear my hat. I'm just me. I don't care. I've just got to a point where I'm going to be me for me. And if people don't want to accept that, they're not going to be in my sphere. And I'm okay with that. Now, human nature, to be honest, is we get uncomfortable a little bit when we think about what we look like. But I've just got to the point people are okay with me, and those are the people I really want to interact with. So I wouldn't worry. Again, I wouldn't worry about what you look like. It's more of what you're going to be saying. And we'll probably get into that a little bit more here in a minute, but don't overthink. Is my makeup right? Is my hat correct? Sometimes I turn my hat around. My hair's a mess sometimes. It's not so much what you look like on camera. It's really what you're saying, the message that you're portraying, and how you're able to connect and build those relationships. Because that's what video is all about. That's why I do so much video, is because you're able to connect in a way almost like you're sitting down face to face with somebody. Somebody's sitting there watching. So when it comes to what you look like, guys, don't overthink it. And I know it's funny. This is crazy too. I get a lot less women asking me, talking about that. Way more men are at well, does it have to look good? Then I'm like, holy shit, guys, don't worry about it. Just go on camera, just be you. Like I said, to start with it, if you're overthinking when you walk into a room of friends, then maybe there's a psychological issue you got to get past. But yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and so, I love what you say. It's what you're saying is more important than what you look like. Even though video, the first thing, at least for me when I started doing this, first thing came to mind was it's video, so it has to look right. But in reality, if I was typing it, it's more about what I say. And it's actually the opposite. It's what you're saying, not really what you look like.
Totally opposite. And the other big thing too is people don't just think about themselves, but they think about backgrounds. They think about actual video. Again, not important. A lot of my videos in the very, very beginning, they didn't look perfect. They were a little bit fuzzy. They were out of focus. They didn't have lights. Don't think about it. Just start doing it, and you'll get more and more comfortable as you move on. And then you can start adding here, I'll show you real quick. Everybody wants to see I've got lights, I've got camera. You can add things, but you don't, especially when you're starting, just worry about getting on and actually taking action and doing it.
And then another thing I hear all the time when it comes to this, and I want to kind of get your thoughts, is like people are like, well, what do I post, right? I mean, let me ask you this. Has there been a theme of the videos you've done over the years, whether it was for Personal Book of Business or whether it was for Shred or Industry Syndicate, is there a theme of videos that get more response, more action, or is it just really like hit and miss? I mean, is there any insight you could give to kind of narrow down of like, all right, I'm doing video now, I'm going to make a conscious effort, but what should I do, right? I mean, do you have any insight on that?
It is absolutely hit and miss. Like I put out videos that I did not think that people were going to look at, and they get thousands of views. Like my best example of that is when I was down in I was in Inman in New York, and I was wearing my hat for the first time, kind of in a big public place. And at a pretty big conference, I was wearing my hat, I was wearing a t-shirt, and this guy came up to me and said, "Oh, you're absolutely disrespectful and irreverent." And I did a video right after it happened. I was more just explaining my frustration with the situation. Like, are you serious? Who do you think you are? And that video went on to have hundreds of thousands of views. And so it's just like, and I never in a million years, I thought people were going to like comment like, yeah, you should take your hat off, but people like supporting it. The biggest thing when it comes to like putting out and like worrying about it is you shouldn't be looking at your likes and your views in the very, very beginning. Really. And like, if you're like, wait a minute, but I have to know what hits and misses. In the very beginning, you shouldn't. All you should worry about right now is just at least putting out videos. And then I would say, honestly, give it 30 days, 60 days of doing it. Then you can start looking at it, and then your audience will tell you what they like. And that's what I love about social media is they will tell you very, very quickly. So now I know more of what content I should be focusing on, and I know what I put out. I know I have a better idea now what people are going to be commenting on, what they want to see. And but by far, anybody said this is a universal rule, is just whatever content you're putting out, it does have to be like very, very raw, very, very, if you're doing like these productions, especially when it comes to when it's Facebook in particular, I think is kind of where our focus is here. Facebook or Instagram TV, they were designed to be transparent, to be live, to be raw, to be uncut. And if that's what you want to focus on, you can't edit it. You can't.
Well, that was really kind of my next thing, right? Because, I've had this before of like, well, if I'm going to post, and they won't know what they were going to post on, is it like, do you go into it, or would you recommend going in with like a plan, like writing out your script? Or is it going to be better for social media purposes to say, all right, I'm going to talk today about rates dropping and a refi and just boom, go? Or is it better to kind of build it out if you're an originator who's really just starting to jump into doing social media video?
So both. And let me explain why. Because when I started in the beginning, and people don't know this, people just think I started doing social media recently. I've been doing social media for a long, long time. I've actually, a lot of my deals when I was doing a lot of origination, as everybody knows, I'm a mortgage originator. That's my background. Had a mortgage company, but I was using social media in the fact to get referrals back before it was even a thing, back before people thought about getting leads off social media. I was just being me. I was posting about my tag back when I was doing a lot of loans was the outdoor LO. I'm a big outdoors fan. I did a lot of stuff outdoors. I live in Utah. The mountains are right outside my window right here. So I was always doing things outdoors. So when I was outdoors, I would just take a quick video like, hey, hanging outside outdoors. Oh, hey, by the way, don't know if you saw, rates drop. Pretty cool. Give me a buzz. Like just stuff like that. I never once ever did a video about like, hey, guess what rates are doing today? This is like, here's what the bond did. Da, 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 da. There are great people who do that. That is not my wheelhouse. My audience didn't like that. I found that really quickly that they didn't want to see that. But as I continue to do more and more videos, and as you put out a lot of content, I'm that person who can just go off the cuff. Like you and I are spitballing here. I don't have any notes in front of me. You and I had talked about a couple of ideas going into it, but I think it's smart as you start putting out videos, especially if you start beginning, write down a few ideas. Like have at least something in mind, because the last thing you want to do, and you'll lose your audience very quickly if your first few videos, if you just get on there and ramble. Like people are like, oh my gosh, this is a hot mess. So, and you may lose them very, very quickly. So at least have some thoughts going into it. I'm not saying, again, it doesn't have to be complete. Like you shouldn't be reading an entire script because people want to see you make mistakes. One of the reasons people have loved watching what I do is because I'm not scripted. I mess up all the time. I fumble over my words, but at the same time, like because I've been doing this for a while too now, I can hold a conversation. If you're somebody where it's very difficult to hold a conversation or come up with something on the fly, then absolutely have notes, because you will have a time where your mind blanks. It's happened to me a few times, and it still happens today. Like, all of a sudden my mind will just blank. You can hurry and look back down to your notes. Maybe you have your laptop or whatever. You can look back down and get right back into it. So that kind of both sides of it. And it really depends on the situation too. If you're sitting down like you and I are doing now, actually this morning, if you go and watch, this morning I did a live with Haley, who's with Fairway. She called me up on the phone. We were having a cool discussion on the phone, and she's like, hey, what do you think about doing a LinkedIn or a Facebook Live about this? And we just jumped because we had a great discussion point. Yep. Do that. Those are the best lives with the most engagement that I ever see are those type of conversations. And Regan, I know you do the same thing. Like, when you get one of those topics that you're just really passionate about and that you're knowledgeable about, you jump right into them. So yeah. I recommend, if you are doing something throughout the day that you're like, hey, I want to share this, don't worry what you think about what are people going to think about it. If it's something that really resonates with you, do a video on that, and your true followers, your true friends, it will resonate with them because they know you.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, I always say be authentic, right? And so let's just say you're somebody who doesn't just spitball in general, super type A. You may not want to just do it because you're going to come across weird and awkward because you're not being authentic, right? If you're that way, have a really informative thing because that's going to play to that audience, right? And if you're more kind of off the cuff, more like you and I guess you'd say, yeah, be authentic. It's going to be weird if you're reading a script. Like, if I had a teleprompter and you had a teleprompter, we'd sound awful, right? Just because it's not kind of how we operate. And so I think that's kind of one of the big keys for me. And I would ask you one other question kind of in line with what we just went over is scheduling, right? Is, in your opinion, video on social something that you just are doing, you got to do 10 a week, twice a day, just so people cannot forget you? Is it something you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Is it something that you do just whenever the mood strikes? Like, what do you think is maybe the best way to approach that to give some LOs out there who aren't doing social or kind of doing it, like some of your insight on that?
So this is something where some people disagree with me, but I've spent a lot of time with some of the absolute best in the industry, not in our industry, but the mortgage, the real estate, title, insurance. We're about, people say like 7 to 8 years behind. We're about 3 or 4 years behind most trends. And you look at some other industries, entrepreneurs, especially the entrepreneurs, people, marketing agencies, they're definitely way ahead of us. But when it comes to video, when it comes to these things, they have put out a ton of it, like tons. Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, Lewis Howes, a lot of these people, they put out insane. They're posting videos and different posts. I mean, some of them I've seen. I think Gary, I saw once he had 23 posts in one day. Grant Cardone, I believe he still sets the record for all-time posts on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. That I think on Twitter he had something like 300 and something posts in one day. On Facebook, crazy. I want to say he had something like 100 something posts. You don't have to do that. I say get on a schedule of, and you'll like this, Regan, whatever you will commit yourself to, do that. I would recommend, if you're watching this and you haven't done a video, hopefully by now you've been hearing it enough. Maybe this is the one time it's going to push you. I always tell, I'm always about challenging people. If this is finally, you've heard it. It's like a broken record in the industry right now. You got to just do it. Like, just do a video, start today, and then maybe say, okay, every Tuesday, that's when I started. I listened to Regan, I listened to Josh. Every Tuesday, I'm going to start doing it. And I'm just getting into that habit. Then add one more the next week. People, what the problem is they think it takes too much time. But like you said, if you come across a topic, maybe you're talking to a borrower and you were able to help them, or like in a way that only you could have helped them, that's some great content. Just jump on and say, I just had the most incredible conversation with a borrower. They were in this situation. I was able to help them get through it. People are like, wow, that's a story. That's an experience. Like, people love that type of stuff. So just get in the habit. And people are like, well, I don't want to toot my own horn. I don't want to sound arrogant or cocky. You're not. You're just sharing something that you help benefit somebody else's life. It's not arrogant if you're sharing how you help somebody else, how you are winning. People get inspiration. They get motivation from that. I think that's one of the biggest things that I get from people too, is like, oh, I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't want to be a star. don't think of yourself as a star. I don't think of that either. Like, I think of celebrities as like your Chris Pratt, your Brad Pitt, like those are celebrities. We're talking about things that we enjoy and that we love, and we're just sharing it via social media. That's what these social media networks were created for, is to share that type of stuff. So I would just start putting out video and then ramp it up. So maybe you do one week, maybe you do 2 the next week, maybe pick, like you said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Myself, I made a commitment to myself, and it was difficult. It pushed me right out of my comfort zone. But as you know, I did a live video with a guest every single day, and I did 153 episodes straight without missing a day. Was that hard? Absolutely. But I just committed to myself. I knew I was going to do it. I knew I could do it. And so just make a commitment. And whether you're working with Regan, if you have somebody like Regan you can reach out to, or if you have an accountability partner, just say, hey, I'm committing this week. I'm going to do 2 videos, and then make sure they hold you accountable and do them.
Yeah, and it's funny. A good friend of mine, he's in advertising, and his whole job was, before he sold his company, was social media. And I asked him about this too when I was putting this together. And he goes, like you said, our industry is behind most industries. And he made a comment of, all right, the easiest way to tell yourself how much you need to do is go look at a competitor, a local LO or somebody else that you may run into, and whatever they're doing, double it, right? Like he's like, that would be his advice, would be double it. So if you look at an LO or another, company in the area that, you might run into, and they're doing just a little post and not a video every day, if you do 1 video a day, you've doubled what they're doing. If they're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos, do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's like, if you do that, your audience, your realtors, etc., they're going to immediately attract to you via social media over someone else. And let's say your competition is doing nothing. Well, guess what? Pretty darn easy. You got to do 1 a week. Right. So like barometer wise, that's something else that I wanted to share and throw in, because it's coming from a guy in an industry that is light years ahead of what we're doing. And
so I want to add to that real quick if I can, because what you said is so brilliant, and so many people, and you probably do this all the time, well, they're like, oh, well, I already see so many people putting out content. You see it because Facebook has the algorithms that those who are putting out content, they're trying to get you to see that. But in your local market, I guarantee, like I'm here in Salt Lake in Utah, and I can count on 2 hands the actual people who are putting out consistent content. And I mean, Salt Lake City's not huge, but to your point, like you start putting out anything. Yeah, go look up the 2 top LOs in your area. And I know this for a fact. The two top LOs here in Salt Lake, they don't even have Facebook accounts. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And he also made a point of, you see it, so you assume they're doing it all the time. But if you look at their last 30 days, they might have 4 posts, right? It's a lot easier to break in than you really actually might think, right? And I guess the last thing, just because I want to keep this quick to the point so people, really can take something and work on it, is, would there be any one thing that we haven't discussed that you would say this is an absolute must when you're doing video?
Ooh, I think we've hit on a lot of the points. I would probably say a must that we haven't talked about is you don't always have to be the expert. Like we hear a lot about being an advisor, we hear loan officers are the mortgage experts, but you don't always have to be the one. That's how I built my entire brand on, I'm not saying it wasn't just me, but I brought great people like you. I brought on guests, I brought on other people. And so many people fear putting out their own content, and they get overwhelmed because they're like, well, if I have to put out three posts a week, what the hell am I going to talk about? Like, I can't do 3 posts a week. Use your realist, use your partners, use your even clients. I've had clients on my show. I've had past clients, especially before I was doing Shred and Industry Syndicate and Daily LO Life. Like I brought my clients on and I talked about their experience with me. Like, hey, we just did a loan together. We just closed on a new purchase. How was it? Oh, it was awesome. Like we did. And they shared their true experience. So people think about that they have to be the one in front of the camera all the time. That's just not true.
Yeah. And dude, I'm telling you, so that was the other thing my buddy shared. Now you kind of stole what I was going to say. My last point to anybody watching is social media is free. Okay. So it's not like every time you put a video out, you're spending ad dollars. okay? Social media is free. So if you put out 10 and 3 are good, that's better than putting out 3 with 1 good, right? And so any idea you have, bringing on realtors, bringing on past clients, bringing on wealth advisors, anybody that you can bring on, it's not going to be a dud because it costs you nothing more than 15 minutes. So don't be afraid. And like you said early, you put it out there, your audience will tell you what's good early on, then you just tailor to that, right? So I really think the capturing the fact that it's free and you can try a lot of things is something that not many originators actually do. So
100%.
Josh, man, with that, I really appreciate your time. If you guys haven't checked out Shred or Industry Syndicate, you better go like it, check it out. It's some of the best stuff, and it's a collection and really a collaboration of a ton of industry leaders all into one place, which is really awesome. So if you're watching me and you're not subscribed to them, definitely go check it out. Other than that, Josh, you got anything to add, man?
No, man, that was absolutely, you crushed it. And again, everything that you do with the Mortgage Success Blueprint, you're giving away so much information, so much great content and value. You guys are crazy if you haven't subscribed to everything that you're doing. So kudos to you, man. And again, we just really appreciate you doing stuff like this to continue to really educate the entire industry. So hats off to you, my friend.
You too, man. Thank you very much for the time, dude. We'll see you soon.
All right, see you guys.